like going to. But yeah, I would expect that we see. I would say out of this best of three, we're gonna have one on Dragonshire, one on Sky Temple, and one on Cursed Hollow.
So we'll see what happens with the map striking right and now, guys. As far as the drafting goes, I think it's just going to be business as usual, status quo stuff. We'll probably see one team maybe get their hands on Thrall, go with the heavy initiation. One team will get Falstad or ban out the Falstad, and the business as usual. Looking at things in the future a little bit here, Dreadnought.
Yeah.
The pending patch that is coming down the pipeline.
Yes.
How is that going to shape? We have a little bit of downtime here. How do you think that's going to shape up the scene as far as the main heroes, the same like 5 heroes we've seen picked in the draft consistently for the past 3-4 months?
Okay, so one thing is that I feel like it's going to pull a little bit away from ganking, or if so, you need to be a more efficient ganker because of the damage to the turrets. And I also think Sylvanas is going to rise into power because of the turrets and the sieging, is going to definitely help her a lot when it comes to the early game. So efficient gankers, if you are ganking, the draft is actually going to be starting here, though. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to get into my hypothesis on the future meta. It could get real weird in here, but we're going to go over to the draft here. First pick for ban is going to go to DasGo, our sweet dark horse here that I don't even know the entire roster yet. I'm excited to see that reveal, but I think here we go on Cursed Hollow. Zagara ban is a really smart pick up there. From a first pick situation, it really comes down to how well people prioritize the Tyrande. I actually, like I said, I still kind of don't hate the opportunity to look to try and pick up her or Kael'thas in the first pick situation. Keep in mind, usually that does mean you're relying on your second pick player to make a mistake here. So probably a Kael'thas ban in response to the Zagara, but nothing too crazy here.
So obviously Zagara is a big lane bully, and the first match with the battleground of Cursed Hollow. So the big thing about Cursed Hollow, obviously besides the objective that this battleground has that most don't, is there's 2 bosses with corresponding lanes. The right side of the map, the boss goes in the top lane. The left part of the map, the boss goes in the bottom lane. And those lanes strike a lot of emphasis with teams. If you can push those lanes in around level 10, around level 13 is generally when we see the first bosses being taken. If you have a big advantage in pushing, then your boss is going to be much bigger of a threat. If that boss has a free avenue to the inner structures as opposed to the fountain and fort, then obviously it helps you dictate the flow a little bit sometimes. So with that being said, sometimes we see a little bit more priority on pushing heroes and putting them in that boss lane in the early part of the match. That's a strategy teams can fall back on. And another thing, another hero we see on this battleground that we don't frequently see is Abathur as well.
Yeah, and here we go. Actually, the Zagara band is going to lead to a Thrall band into the first pick, Kael'thas. So essentially removing some of the dominant solo laners here in the decision making, but it does end up giving up the Kael'thas, who has the infamous chain bomb. Falstad picked up his response here for blank. I wouldn't be surprised, the Tyrande pick, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually ran for a near similar comp that they ran on the last map with a little bit more delay to concentrate on that fish in the barrel around the tributes rather than on the Sky Temple, where you do have a little bit longer, but on this map kill potential is far higher. Keep in mind, DasGo, I don't know their entire roster, but probably has a little bit more experience than what's her name did? Adrenaline versus this style composition. Sonya possibly going to be picked up here. I'm going to be interested if they're going to pair it with a Jaina for the double mage. It's usually kind of, it's not risky, but it's a little bit unorthodox. There you go. I like the Uther pickup as well. It works not only great with Kael'thas, but also synergizes with Sonya. Really like this pickup. I wouldn't be surprised if there was actually, this puts Blank in a really cool position when it comes to draft, right? Because they don't want to ban ETC because he kind of synergizes with him, but at the same time, it kind of takes away from like DasGo, so like they're probably going to put a prioritization on one of the bands that's actually in the long run going to hurt them a little bit, because all of it comes down to what pairs with Tyrande in the style of draft, right? When you pick Tyrande this early, but they also might go with the Stitches as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. I just feel like right now they have a lot of options. The Rexar ban, I don't feel like that can be genuine.
We saw it picked once today.
We did. We first pick, as a matter of fact.
Meta-defining first pick Rexar that turned out to be fake.
All right.
It's gonna be the Rainer though, my man. It's gonna be the auto attacker that everyone is always threatened by, the late game beast of the Rainer, and of course the pushing monster utilization with the Bethel Clues of the Hyperion.
The Tassar ban is so good there. So it takes away a lot of the it takes from not only the cross healing but also the vision control if they were to move into that fish in the barrel again strategy on Cursed Hollow here. So that ban Really awesome. It does not totally counter Blink because again, their draft is so young that they have so many different places they can go with it. They can go with a hard burst comp with isolation. They could decide to go with a double tank isolation comp. They have a lot of different things they can do here. So they do have the fall set for decent laning, the global for the XP here. But overall, still no Jaina in sight. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it picked up here. But maybe I'm just absolutely crazy and I'm the only person in the world who still likes Jaina.
Jaina is still a very strong assassin. Her burst damage is almost the amount of burst damage she can do single-handedly. I think is almost completely unmatched, other than like a Novo full gathering power stacks or something like that. So it's going to be a ETC and a Stitches. So that is a very strong front line right there. ETC's buffy. Stitches can be pretty buff as well, but obviously he doesn't have as much of an escape mechanism, so he can get focused down sometimes. But you have the hook into Lunar Flare. You have ETC face melt into Lunar Flare, all sorts of combinations right here. And not only that, do you think those two picks right there were a little bit of denial picks from DasGo as well?
Maybe the ETC. I don't think so much on the Stitches, but maybe I'm wrong there. It does look like the Leoric's going to be picked up here. Interesting decision making since typically Leoric isn't ran as a solo tank, and I mean that by not including Sonya as one of those tank heroes. That might be a quad melee looking to come into play here. I'm a little afraid.
Maybe I mean, if you want to do that, maybe a Tyrael to go along with it. I'm not sure, man.
Yeah, if I think Tyrael would be a decent response. I don't know. They might leave it just with the Sonya. I usually don't like seeing that as a comp. I don't think it's the worst choice. It just makes it's very hard to play your comp properly.
Right.
Especially when you have kind of like the false set Toronto with the mark. It's very hard for Leoric to truly be a frontline. He kind of becomes
absolutely.
like the Leorc pretty quick when you have the Toronto on your opponent's team.
Right.
But that might be it. That might be the response why. Okay,
Is that your boy?
This is my boy Abathur. So logical decision here, ladies and gentlemen, from DasGo to lock this in here with the split push. So what needs to happen this game? That was a better pick than I think probably people give credit to. At the same time, it could be the reason they lose this game, depending on how well it's played out here. I don't know how I feel about the Leoric pick, but I like the Abathur pick a lot here in this type of comp, and I'll get a little bit to that later on here, Shane. But what do you think out of blank? What is the final pick here?
I mean, I think they need themselves a support. They probably would give them pretty good. They do have Tyrande, but I guess they're going to go with Tyrande in a solo healing position, which is something we do see. Obviously, Tassadar, we see Tassadar Tyrande paired up sometimes with Stitches. Can't be the case with the band. So they either can go with putting more emphasis into another healer support, but they're hovering over that Jaina. And my lord, Wade, are we going to see the first Jaina picked for today? They're thinking about it. They're thinking hard. Or is it going to be that, oh, nope, I think we're getting trolled. And we're just going to go into a Rhaegar, maybe. I mean, not a Rhaegar, a Rexar. That's the Sylvanas. Okay, still no Jaina. This is
okay. So let's talk.
Sylvanas is still a thing, though.
Yeah, let's talk about the pros and the cons here. All right, so DasGo. I think the Leoric solo. Granted, you do have Sonya, but I still think you can't really count her in this type of situation, especially with the Duranda. On the other hand, he will be dying a lot. I wish they had picked. I prefer like any other melee tank here, or like big health bar tank in this situation. But what I really like to see against Stitches specifically is Stitches as a hero that very much wants to get these hooks and dance around an area for a very long period of time and can't really force naturally. Keep in mind, ETC can do that with the Tyrande specifically, so it's not like it's a huge flaw in their comp, but they have a hero that usually wants to sit back, and while that's happening is an Abathur's going to be split soaking and pushing on a huge map, and the late game is going to have a heavy amount of influence. They have a Sonya that's going to be dancing around smashing everything. They have a Kael'thas, and it also keeps one less person who's actually going to be able to be picked by the Stitches, which is going to be Abathur. One less body, one less hook. So I like the answer to it. The one thing that I question was, okay, so number one, the Tyrande ETC is going to be able to force those fights. Abathur is very weak in the early game. Actually, those changes did come into play for Abathur, by the way. I believe those are actually live, the changes to his W and his Q, the scaling on them.
Double check.
I believe those are currently live. So he is a little bit stronger than he was the last patch. But the most important thing here coming out of the comp is that Blank needs to be forcing these fights early, even though they have a Stitches. Otherwise, they're going to be falling very far behind in the CC. Or in the early game. What they use the Sylvanas for is actually they're going to try, even though they don't have the best siege, they're going to use Sylvanas to try and siege early because that's a weakness that Abathur has. But when it comes to the team fights and everything else, if they do not get the hook that they need or the early engage comp that they need, Abathur will be soaking as much as he possibly can to make a comeback here. So I think it's all going to come up to how well Blank plays this early game, I think is absolutely crucial. The first 4 tributes, I think, are going to dictate the pace of the game, and then how well hooks are landed past that point.
Yeah.
This is probably, in my opinion, the coolest draft that we're probably going to see all night, because both teams have very different approaches to winning the game, and both teams, it's not like one team obviously blatantly has a superior draft over the other. I feel like both these drafts are pretty close. I feel like it's going to be a little bit biased here for me to determine what I think which team is going to win here, but I finally do see the final roster here coming out from DasGo. It is going to be, do we spoil it? We'll just wait it out. We'll wait it till the game loads. We want to spoil it.
We'll give you the info on that, guys. Actually, wow, there are some impressive names on this roster. It's now starting to shed a little bit of light as to why they are here in the finals here. You guys will see. Let's see here. Sheth is saying
there's a little bit of they're trying to figure out what server to host on, because obviously one team wants to host on one,
right,
and the other team wants to host on another. So I'm just gonna let them argue at each other and do their thing. They'll figure it out. I've done this a lot as a player, and it's just something the casters don't need to worry about. So okay, so was Sylvanas the right pick? That's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, man. I mean, again, she goes into that role where they can push well. Obviously, that's what Sylvanas does, and putting emphasis and getting down towers. So maybe around the mid game when they can pick up a boss, or it complements with the trip or with the curse as well. But I mean, what do you think that was the right choice? What would you, as a shot caller, as a 20-inch crawler, diamond Rottweiler, what would you have done in that position?
Okay, so it was either that or Jaina, and let's talk about which one. Okay, so without picking the Jaina, they're relying very much on getting the ideal engage. They're relying on ETC Tyrande, or they're relying on ETC Stitches to get a combo, and then just having enough damage. If they do not have the Envenom, they're going to have low kill potential. The False Dead stun. Uther's going to have decent amount of healing and everything else, while Abathur is going to be split soaking. Keep in mind, though, if that was a Jaina pick here, that would allow them to force the team fights better in the early game with higher kill potential over each of the tributes, which is absolutely what they need to influence the tributes early on in the early game here on Cursal, with an Abathur soaking elsewhere on the map, right? So that's absolutely crucial. But that's not to say Sylvanas is a bad pick, because, like I said, Abathur's biggest weakness is he's so easily sieged into in the early game.
Yeah.
And not only does that cripple the XP for your team, but it also takes away from free soak for him elsewhere on the map at certain times, right? So Sylv, if Sylv gets more value pre like 7, like the first 3 tribs, than a Jaina would at those tributes, which is very hard to determine. Honestly, I think it comes down to how many kills they get. If they don't get the kills, I would argue Jaina was the answer. But as long as Sylv gets more value than that, I think she was the right pick. I just am very fearful of that early game. When I see Abathurs, I think win the early game, win the game. That's how I view it. So I view Sylvanas is good, yes, but when you don't have enough, I feel like the damage is weak overall from their comp with that double tank, and Sylvanas isn't bad, but she doesn't provide a large amount of burst. That is where I'm struggling when it comes to this draft, and that's how these teams are going to play here. So ultimately, though, I think both comps, like I said, are going to be really interesting. At least I'm excited about the Abathur. My biggest fear is the Leoric, is the solo tank for DasGo. Everything else about their comp I really like.
Well, guys, that right there is a patented Dreadnought knowledge nuclear explosion for you guys. This is why that guy's in the analytical seat right there. For those of you who just are joining in right now, we do have a little bit of some downtime. I believe that we're waiting on a little bit of a lobby dispute. We're trying to figure that out, but shouldn't take too much longer. But for those of you who are new to the Divergent Amateur Series, it's exactly that. It's where we bring teams in who are maybe not quite on the professional level yet. Some of them have had different ranges of success in major tournaments, but obviously this is where new teams can come into a tournament, practice out their strategies, help really define themselves as a team, and consequently learn, get experience under the belt, and move on into the bigger tournaments and move on to becoming a bigger team. And that right there is how a strong competitive scene grows, whether it's Heroes of the Storm or another completely different IP or genre. It's all about nurturing and growing that competitive amateur series, so that way we can continue to further grow the competitive scene as a whole across the whole entire spectrum, the whole entire world of Heroes of the Storm. So all the support that we're getting right now is just so very strong, and it's great. Great to see you guys here, each and every one of you hanging out and having a good time. Big shout out to our sponsors. That Dreadnought is much better at reading out than I am.
I don't even memorize off the top of my head, but we will get to it. I know there is some I believe there's a caption in chat as well that you can use to get to the crowdfunding for these type of tournaments to try and, I believe they're working on building bigger and better tournaments here with Divergent Gaming, and also Divergent Gaming for hosting the tournament. We have Red Rook as well, which is a heavy sponsor for this tournament, as we see their little logo scrolling down below. They do have a website. I believe I'm not going to say it's redrook.com because I feel like it's altered a little bit from there. But yeah, thank you. Big shout outs to each and every one of you guys for tuning in here, not only supporting me and my boy Shane Goocher over there, Shane the Gooch Goocher. That's how it's pronounced, right?
That's exactly right.
I mean, and everything else, guys. So we do appreciate it. I don't know how long this minor dispute's going to take. Honestly, it's one of those things where people are just going to QQ about it until some admin comes in and just lays the law. I think we'll probably just go to a minor break here because otherwise I'll just sit here and vomit all the knowledge I can think about these two comps and which one I think is going to win.
Man. This is what the people are here for. They came for that.
I expressed
free reign. The mic is yours. Free reign.
I expressed that it's all going to come down to the early game tributes, in my opinion. A lot of it that's going to influence a large amount of the game. I can tell you that if you lose tributes to an Abathur comp, you usually are going to have a bad time. And I think that Stitch's weird low DPS in the early game comp might actually struggle with it. I'm not saying they won't, because obviously one good hook, wham bam, thank you ma'am, they're dead. There's not much to worry about. So it all is going to be about how well that is played out by both teams' positioning, approach to it, and everything else. So like I said, we're going to go to a small break while we figure out this lobby situation. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be,
I said teeny tiny bit. For those of you that get that reference, we're best friends.
All right, we'll be back in just a second, guys. See you, nerds.
And a small break it was. As we mentioned, guys, the dispute is over. No need to worry anymore. We're going to be getting into this best of three series. This is the finals between DasGo and Blank. Blank is a team that we've talked about. It's their familiar faces, but we're going to hold the tension a little bit longer before we reveal the entire roster of DasGo. But there's some familiar faces that I'm sure a lot of you will recognize and will shed a lot of light on how they not only took out Gale Force Esports early on in the bracket, a team that has been a favorite to win it since this has started tonight. They're going to come into the finals here, and I think that they are going to contend greatly against Team Blank.
Absolutely. I have a lot of confidence in their play, especially with how well they did against Gale Force. I wish I had been able to see that game, but here we go. We are moving on to the game number 1 in the grand finals of the Divergent Amateur Gaming Tournament here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me fix on these names really quick. Blank is going to be on the Adrenaline is on the wrong side. Names are the hardest thing about production, if in case any of you
really
ever
are.
wondered.
So, guys, a quick summarization of the Battleground of Cursed Hollow. Tributes spawn in 6 different spots across the map. When you get 3 of them, you get yourself a hat trick, and you curse your enemies. That disables the structures, and that lets you push over the minions very, very quickly. And that means that if a team gets themselves a curse early on, they can open up a lot of room across the map, push down forts, push down towers, get a big experience advantage, and get a lot of map control. And map control is very vital on this map because it's, to my knowledge, the only battleground, or at least the most competitively viable battleground that has 2 bosses on it in each of the respective lanes. So a team that can get themselves a good foothold of map control can help contend over both of those bosses. And we see it quite frequently where the teams are constantly going back and forth against those bosses. And we're going to be loading in here, guys. Again, this is game number 1 of the best of 3 series, Divergent Amateur Series. Thank you to each and every one who have been here for the course of the night. And for those of you just tuning in, stay tuned. These are going to be some great games. On the left side of your map, go ahead and introduce these team of DasGo.
Oh, here we go. A lot of names that I recognize here, and I've actually played with them in the past. We're going to have Yoda is going to be on the Kel'Thas, On is going to be on the Leoric, Gorja is going to be on the Sonya, C9 Sheth is going to be on Abathur, and actually my old teammate, Matt Timmy here, is going to be on the Uther.
All right, guys. Sheth, obviously, back to his roots, playing Zerg. On the right side of your map is going to be Team Blake with Zugrug on Tyrande, Game Chess on ETC, Matre on the Sylvanas, Arari on the Stitches, who, if you watched the last game, plays a phenomenal Stitches. And, of course, Craigie is going to be playing that Falstad. And with the Sylvanas, we see this frequently. They're going to go in the bottom lane. They're going to push down these towers and try to give themselves a little bit of an experience boost in the early game.
Absolutely. They're going to work on the cheese as best they can here. It is going to give them the XP, but look, there is going to be a trade on the mid lane. Who actually comes out on top here? In theory, we do see on the right hand that that is going to be Blink here. Blink is going to end up with a small advantage if they do manage to contest the boss, but when it comes to overall game map control, controlling on mid is the best, largely because they have the Abathur to soak in the side lanes there. So not a huge advantage for either team, but it is little Snapple facts on where one team gains the advantage over the other. Boss lanes are extremely important for Cursed Hollow, whether it be yours or your opponent's there. So.
All right, the Watchtower being taken by Game Chest ETC. Leoric just wants to say hello and check out the situation. So, looking at the lane structures right now, we see Abathur is trying to body soak and symbiote soak in the top lane. Kraigie's going to do his best job right there to clean this lane up. One of the best ways of dealing with an Abathur is putting a lot of pressure into that lane and forcing him to decide between clearing up the lane or symbioting his teammates to help him out. That's one of the ways of dealing with an Abathur.
Yeah, and what you see is actually Abathur at level 1 took damage on mine, so you can tell he's going to go a mine-oriented, rotation-oriented build, but they only keep 2 to defend up bottom. You see that Blank is trying to force the advantage as hard as they can with that Sylvanas, knowing that Abathur is weak a little bit to that kind of sieging up style composition here, so they're trying to capitalize as best they can. They have done pretty well so far with a quarter of the turret health, and again, that is going to be in the boss lane here, so it will give them a small advantage. I don't know if it's enough to necessarily that be too worried about overall. They're going to back out here. Here they go. They're going to look to get the Giants for the first tribute. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the first tribute does spawn between 2 minutes and 20 seconds and 2 minutes and 50, and it is completely random for at least the first 2.
So ideally, what will happen here for Team Blank is they're going to get these Siege Ogre camps, they're going to push into the bottom lane, and if a tribute spawns in the top lane, what that means is there'll be split pressure on the map. The Siege Ogre's pushing in the bottom lane with that fort is already exposed and taking a lot of damage, and then obviously a contention over the tribute in the top part of the map. And they are facing up against an Abathur, so they have to be careful. Long drawn-out team fights, and if the Abathur has enough time to body soak for long periods of time, and it's a long drawn-out team fight against that tribute, we actually might see DasGo to build a little bit of an experience advantage, though the split soaking capabilities of Abathur doesn't really fully come online until later on in the game. It's still a strong factor to take in consideration for these first initial tribute fights.
Definitely, especially when considering an Abathur. If this tribute, that's perfect. This is a huge advantage for DasGo here. Not only are they going to be able to clear out the Giants, but on the top lane, they are going to have the Giants sieging up top with Abathur to help soak and push, making Falstad going to have to put higher prioritization on defending up there. I really like this decision making, but early rotations are going to be won by Blank here. They have a huge rotation advantage. One delay, they're going to come out from Mad Timmy really well down there, but I don't know if it's going to be enough here, Shane.
They got to be careful. Oh, man, Leoric's in some trouble. He does have the hardened bones. The tribute is going to be picked up here by Team Blank, but we see that DasGo is trying to punish it, putting themselves aggressively forward. Toronto almost goes down, but it's going to be able to fall within the safe confines of her towers, hit the fountain, remain on the map, remain a presence, and continue to soak. Bottom lane was cleared up in no time. That fort did take a little bit of damage on the side of DasGo, but it's still relatively healthy. Top lane, looking at the situation up there, very healthy. Falstad did a good job of clearing up those Siege Ogre camps and doing a good job thus far of mitigating the push coming out from Chef's Abathur. Absolutely,
and the early rotation coming out from Blank is what secured them that tribute, which is exactly what they need. Falstad was able to not even rotate to match the Abathur, which is that's what they need to do when they win these early tributes. They did Owl to get the early sight here with the invade on Gorgeous. He is completely alone. The early rotation coming out from Blank, they have the advantage here. Matre barely getting a level alive, which he will actually go down here to on. Man, Timmy is going to die as well. This is a poor fight to be staying around here for Timmy. The Ghost will not be able to keep his teammates alive. It's just a slaughterhouse here with this early rotation. Zugrug going to go down. Yoda's going to end up falling here as well. Abathur is not even lane soaking as well, so this rotation is just going to be really well done here from Blank overall. Smart awareness there. That was all because of an owl.
Still ongoing.
That owl came out while right after that team fight to watch Sonya solo that, and they just timed that invasion perfectly. It was absolutely perfect there. But now slow minds have come into play here. This tribute most likely positionally is going to go in favor of Blank here. As you can see, DasGo, Timmy trying to get delayed, not spec'd into that W at level 7, so he will have no opportunity to delay that there. Abathur was split soaking on top a little bit, not getting too much done, and now the 7 mine build is coming into play for Abathur. Watch for his mines, watch for the slow rotations. That's going to mean a lot here in this game, and it looks like an early boss call coming out here from DasGo.
This is a very early boss journal. We don't see him taking quite this early. I mean, I can understand why they want to. They need to put a little bit more pressure in these lanes and open up the room for Abathur to do what Abathur does best, and that's a split push, split soak. But this boss isn't the strongest. I mean, taking a look at the situation with the structures, it'll take out these tier 1 towers, giving them a little bit of an experience. I don't know if it will passively take out the fort. It's not the strongest one in the world, but nonetheless, yeah, they're going to pick up this boss, and it's going to be a somewhat of an ideal situation here, because it is going to put pressure in the bottom lane, and the teams are going to be fighting over the tribute in the top part of the lane. But with Blank having a small but yet significant experience advantage up against this tribute, they're going to be hitting those level 10 heroics, a good timing ahead of DasGo, and I think DasGo is just going to completely forfeit this and just deal with the curse. They're going to have to.
Yeah, they have to. They realize that they're not going to be level 10 in time to be able to deal with this. They have the boss. They're going to try and siege up, get objectives elsewhere on the map in order to make sure that they do at level 10. They don't want to be taking the fights, especially during a curse. This is kind of worst case scenario though. When you are DasGo and you're in their position, team fighting while your opponent has a curse is the ideal situation, largely because the curse is going to naturally siege in each and over every lane, right? So if you are able to force your opponent into a team fight, especially if you win it, they essentially negates the entire effect of the curse here. Sylvana's trying to get the pick on Abathur there, slowly but surely. But the early level lead going against the Abathur comp, it's going to be hard for DasGo to come back from here. Keep in mind, once this curse ends, be very aware that there is only one boss, so no double boss play or boss trade, which we typically see after this tributes. And honestly, it's just going to be a pretty substantial lead here. Leoric going to not even pop a Z a little bit too late. He will be going down there. March of the Black King. No entomb out from him in that comp. And this is the lead that we needed to see from Blank here.
Yep. This is exactly what you talked about in the draft, where this is what you do against an Abathur, and they are coming out fighting and doing a good job. Not only have they picked up the curse, they got the fort in the top lane with Sylvanas. The mid lane is going to be cleared up as well. Bottom lane under a lot of pressure. Even if it doesn't go down, they can sweep down there and in just a couple of moments' notice take that out. And all of a sudden, this means that DasGo is going to be contained inside the confines of their own inner structures, not even before the 10-minute break. And that's how you deal with an Abathur. Keep the lanes pushed in, take away his presence on the map, and try to punish it if he does overextend on the map, especially considering there's a Falstad. And a smart Falstad, if he's able to recognize and sniff out what an Abathur is with that flight, he can definitely take him out if that Abathur gets a little bit too overzealous with his positioning.
Yeah, and then you see the tribute, the XP is actually bouncing out a little bit here for the next tribute, which is really well done by Sheth, getting his soak as best he can on, going to check the boss and make sure that they aren't going to be getting a little bit too greedy there without an advantage to take that. Keep in mind, Abathur in the later game becomes far more powerful than he does in the early game, specifically post-16. He becomes a far more influential character on the map, especially if he has his team pushing a specific lane for him, like he kind of has Giants in the upper lane for him right now. If somebody can kind of baby him a little bit here, it would definitely help out his opportunities. Also keep in mind, Tyrande is a soft counter to Abathur. If she does end up going with the Pierce, or not the Pierce specifically, but the 16 damage on her Owl, she can actually kill an Abathur who stands in one position for a little bit too long here. So look for these nice little counter plays here from both teams, and the chain bomb power spike going to be hit here pretty soon for DasGo, excuse me. Wow, everything missing there on Gorgias, barely. That was really, really close there. I think he just did it a little bit too early, so it was mid-hook, and they ended up getting away with it. But once this town tier is hit 13, Abathur's gaining a little bit of power. Kel'Thas is throwing a little bit of power. They are down behind structurally by quite a large amount, but this Abathur is keeping them in this game, and this might be enough to get a momentum swing in favor of DasGo.
We now see Blink is rotating to their boss and taking it. Does DasGo know that this is being taken? I think they do, because the entire team is missing. There's only one spot they could possibly be. Game Chess is putting himself already into a position where if there's a little bit of a reckless position, or a reckless initiation from DasGo, we can sweep in. There's the Mighty Gus securing the boss right there. Very job well done, but there's a big Divine Shield, but unfortunately you can't interrupt the Divine Shield. The Mosh Pit, not the best value in the world. There wasn't much follow-up. And now all of a sudden, Cloud9 Sheth utilizing the Ultimate Evolution Sonya, doing a lot of damage to Aragi, bossing the Stitches out. And, oh man, that was just the Ultimate Evolution on the Sheth there. But that was, no one went down there, Dread, but the boss was still taken for Blink, and this is going to force a response out of DasGo.
Oh! They're so close. All right, yeah, Falstad's going to fly to the tribute, and they're going to get it. If you kept, not only was that Gus a little bit early there, it was honestly a really good disengage on his half to make sure that his team could ensure the boss, keeping Sonya a little bit out there. So I really like the decision making there. I didn't mean to say that was early, but the recognition of the boss was very late here for DasGo, which allowed them to not even be able to really contest that. Yeah. If you saw, the mosh pit was really influential there, and the Wailing Arrow I believe Wailing Arrow only hit 1 to 2 people. I just remember when I saw it, I don't remember exactly what happened, that I felt like it was really underwhelming in that last team fight there, but they do end up walking away. Whenever you have the boss pushing and fighting for you on that type of situation, it's going to be really hard to make a win there. But again, another tribute going in favor of DasGo, sorry about that.
There you go.
Blink getting one more win. Boss is now spawning, and they're starting this boss instantly. This is such a high-risk situation. I wonder how well this is going to play out here, Shane.
Aragi has sniffed it out. Gorgias going aggressive on the Stitches. Got to be careful not to overextend here, as here comes the rest of Team Blink looking to go in there. There is no Mosh Pit, but there's the Divine Shield onto Sonya, negating the Wailing Arrow, Ultimate Evolution from Sheth on the Sonya. And this could be a moment for them to turn this around, but On uses the March to the Black King, but didn't get much value on it. Aragi's in some trouble, but so is On. Both of the bruisers of these teams are hemorrhaging. They need some heals. Gorgias trying to secure the takedown under Aragi. Lunar Flare is going to hit him, though. And all of a sudden, now Gorgias might have overextended. He's taking a lot of damage. Is there a Gravity Lapse to zone him out? There's not. It's not even going to be needed. So once again, these teams keep exchanging blows, but no one getting knocked to the mat here, Dread. Yeah. This tribute is spawning, and both of these teams are fighting for that level 16 talent here. Blink is ahead in the race for it, but this is the moment where DasGo has to get aggressive before they hit level 16 to try to even the odds up. This tribute is going to be the most impactful. It doesn't. Oh man, there's a hook onto Leoric. Not the most ideal target, but he has to get out of there. The Wraith Walk, he's just hanging out a little bit too long. He took more damage than he necessarily needed to, And as this goes on, Blank is okay with this because they're going to be level 16 pretty soon. And I feel like the aggression needs to be put on by DasGo, or they're going to be fighting up against level 16 talent or disadvantage. And I think they are finally going to forfeit this tribute. They're going to fall back and maybe just they were trying to maybe open up some room for Cloud9 Chef for his Abathur to get a little of action going. And that's pretty much what's happened. He's pushing out that top lane pretty well.
Yeah, until he gets 16, though, he isn't the most influential character on the map. His mines are really all that matter, kind of pre-16, excuse me. If he doesn't have clone up, he's kind of not... He's kind of just a walking ultimate for the early half of the map for the most part, unless his team has some early siege that's going to help him out, like these Giants might do here. 16 tier is going to be hit for both teams. They're worried about a boss here, as you can see. They're going to face check. They did show 3 people to lower half the map, though, so I don't think they'll worry about it. Leading with their double tank here to check. Al going to come out to double ensure the fact that they know they aren't going to be on the boss. Giants also helping with that idea. 16 tier is all that's going to matter for both of these teams. They are going to be a little bit of clear. Keep in mind, if the tribute spawns on the upper half of the map, I was not keeping track well enough to determine. I forgot where the tribute's going to spawn here, actually. But keep in mind, if it does spawn in the upper half of the map, what's going to happen here is the option to take boss instead of taking the curse here is it's a risky play. Falstead just uses fly. If the tribute spawns on the lower half of the map now, positional advantage will be in favor of DasGo.
So with level 16 online, actually recognizing a quick note about the Kael'thas, he didn't go with Chain Bomb. He went with Flamethrower and Fury of the Sunwell. So taking a page out of FaZe notebook of Cognitive right there, going a little bit of an unorthodox build. Over to the east, though, Aragi, he was in the front line just trying to get a little bit of a awareness as to what is going on. This tribute spawn location, Wade, always is just so very dangerous for these teams because it's just nothing but choke points. It's just choke point through choke point through choke point. And a team with the future bile and the mosh pit, oh man, Sony's in a lot of trouble. Divine Shield forced out defensively, not ideal, but unfortunately, oh man, that mosh pit, very low value, completely whipped. So 2 big heroics on both sides of the map, not getting much value. March of the Black King doing a significant amount of damage, and that forces Sylvanas to have to rotate out and then gets punished. And now On's on the aggressive right there, going forward. The double Lee York, the double Spooky Ghost right there, trying to get something going. But finally, after the 3rd exchange of these teams, the takedown does go, and that is going to be a successful team fight for DasGo, and this is what they needed, man. You talked about it, that they get the tribute, now they can fall back and pick up this boss.
Absolutely. This is actually the first swing in the favor of DasGo this entire game. Really well done on their part there. Abathur should be getting a little bit of split push wherever he can on the map, which is most likely going to be with this boss or on the other side of it. He has now hit the 16 tier to where he does spike. They will be able to contest this tribute as well, so I think you'll see him go bottom and soak as well as he can there. But for the first time, as the bosses are actually going to be trade here. I didn't realize the spawn happened on the upper half of the map. That does hurt DasGo and their comeback here a little bit. But ultimately, this tribute will possibly lead to the curse. The battle is going to be very, very, very important here. Keep in mind, no evolution and positional advantage. Oh, Mad teaming with a beautiful delay over the wall. Check On's positioning. This is very risky.
It is. The Shadow Stalk already forced out really early on into this exchange, and this isn't a moment for DasGo to lay on the aggression. On's going forward. Really, really aggressive. He's got to be careful, second-guessing himself and now getting away. Maybe if he had an Entomb, he could have got a beautiful Entomb with follow-up, but right now, I think they're just trying to zone out Blank from picking up this tribute, and that's exactly what they did. So the next tribute spawning here is going to be pivotal. Oh no, the Stitches is going to get caught out. He's going to get blown up. That is really unfortunate. We're at the stage of the game where respawn timers are long enough to where one pickoff like that can all of a sudden just bust a game wide open, and this is going to allow DasGo to just freely roam across the map and maybe get a little bit aggressive. And when you have an Abathur, that's just not a position you want to be in.
Absolutely. Abathur hasn't had much influence on this game still. He's getting the soak, which has really caught his team up in a lot of situations. We're yet to see him split push very well at all, though. Structurally, he doesn't have much to do. You're going to see, now that this bottom gate and keep has been threatened down here, this is going to be the lane that he tries to concentrate on, which does really hurt him when the tribute spawns in to that lane specifically. Every team is trying to rotate here, get the positional advantage. Keep in mind, Stitches is still dead. He will be a little bit late. If this fight is forced before he gets here, it's going to be very, very good in favor of Das Boots here. And this is a double curse for both teams here, Shane.
This is going to be pivotal. These teams are trying to race towards those level 20 Storm tier talents, and what's happening right now is Blank needs to delay. We see the Shadow Stalk being utilized. They got to be careful. The hook is not going to land, but they have to be careful of making sure that the tribute is not picked up here by DasGo. We see On with aggressive positioning, trying to zone out for Yoda. Game chest going in there. The Sentinel's going to prevent it. The Mighty Gus is there. A little bit of anti-synergy. Sony does get hit by it. Is there cleanser from Shielders? Not. They're turning around onto ETC. The Gravity Lapse is there. He's low. He goes down. The first takedown of this, and now Falstad's in a lot of trouble too. The Leoric is chasing down the Birdman. Can he finish him, though? That's the question. Matry's going up there, haunting wave up. They do get another takedown. 2 takedowns for DasGo. And the curse And right now, I think by the end of this curse, they probably will have that level 20 advantage, Wade. And this is going to be a huge moment for them. They can fall back to the boss. They can fall back to Bruiser camps. They finally are in a spot where they can just dictate the flow of this match.
Yeah, and what they need to do is get as many structures as possible. I would not be risking these fights at all. When you have an Abathur on your team and you have this big of a lead, what you need to do is take all the structures that you can to chokehold your opponents with his split pushing pressure to where constantly you can threaten the core at any point with the game, with the catapults pushing in, with him constantly sieging up the lanes and everything else. A beautiful Lunar Flare. They're going to hit 3 people. They ended up only getting 1 structure, 1 keep here instead of 2. I really would have liked, like I said, see them get a little bit more pressure there. If they had 2 keeps up and 20 advantage, the odds of them being able to manipulate their opponents and dictate what they're able to do with the rest of this game would have really helped. But they are going to walk away. Only 1 keep here. And now the next curse, they are going to be down 20 advantage. It's not going to be that much because there's going to be 2 tributes in favor of Blank already. They don't need to be too risky, I guess, when it comes to the objectives there. There you see, look in the lower half of the map. Nobody's looking to clear this out. Abathur instantly moving up to get that split push. Well done by Shet there. Huge hook on Leoric. Keep in mind, this wasn't brought up earlier, but it's something that has been used very well all game. On has been using extended E on Leoric to absorb as much damage with a 25% damage reduction. So anytime he gets under threat with his team, there we go with the Abathur split push. Anytime there comes threat onto his team, he's just absorbing as much damage as he possibly can.
And that is a hallmark of a great warrior player, able to almost be kind of a distraction tactic, a diversion tactic. Hey, put the damage into me instead of the rest of the team. And now, all of a sudden, we talked about how Abathur, as far as pushing the lanes out, hasn't been much of a presence. But now with that curse that DasGo has, getting the keep in the mid lane, that means the Abathur can sweep between the top and the bottom lane, which obviously have a vast difference, a vast distance between the 2 of them. Bottom keep already is down to about 2 or 3 HP. Top structures are going to be under siege by this Abathur. And this is ideal when you have that Abathur. It's going to give him the room and the ability he needs to push. With this level 20 Storm Tier talent advantage, we do see the positioning of DasGo putting themselves in the bottom lane. And it looks like what they want to do is finish off. They keep. They can't overstay their welcome. Mosh Pit is online. The Shadow Stock being forced out. Hardened Shield's also being forced out. So Gorjaws has to make sure that he doesn't overextend the hook onto Kel'Thas. Is there a bolt? There is. And that's the Storm Tier talents are so pivotal right now and enabling DasGo to stay here and be a presence. But I think we're finally might see a turnaround from him. Game Chess getting out there, and both these guys, neither of them want to really commit to a team fight. Still no level 20 for a Blank. They got to think twice about this. They have to defend this very carefully because at this stage of the game, 20 minutes in, respawn timers are so long that 1 or 2 takedowns could just be the end of the match.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're trying to force with this 20-tier advantage the best they can to get on the keep. Gorjaws did get a little bit aggressive there early on to pop a lot of his cooldowns, maybe getting caught here a little bit again. Hook coming up, barely missing Yoda there in the backline. That's what he's aiming for. Really well done from Miragi there. They're just waiting for level 20, trying to make something happen so they can force this fight, but they will not force until 20. There they go, and again, realizing their opponents are split on the mid lane, they're going to get the keep, and that's exactly what they need. Keep in mind, Abathur the entire time, split pressure on top. Hook on Gorjaw. He has no hardened shield. He popped it for the first rotation. There's the stone skin, but it doesn't matter.
Tyrande in a lot of trouble, but so's Gorjaws. He's underneath the core. He went into the 2-hand, forcing out a Divine Shield. A Mosh Pit onto 2 on the Ultimate Evolution and on. He's in trouble. Does he have a Wraithwalk? He doesn't. He goes down. And all of a sudden, with level 20 Heroics online, Blank is has a moment of opportunity to swing this game back into their favor. But that 1 takedown's a strong takedown. It's on probably the Leoric, who's not the most impactful hero when it comes to taking off the map. They weren't able to get more than that because the rest of DasGo did get the hell out of dodge the moment they recognized they overextended just a wee bit there, diving underneath the core. So, but that could be really important. I mean, the tribute is now up here, and if they get this tribute, that's a curse. This is a very, very, very tight moment right now for DasGo.
Yeah, no, it is, and that missed hook is really going to hurt there. Leoric is behind them to get this flank here. Watch his aggressive positioning here. Once more to try and zone the team. He's going to wait until they overcommit to the tribute, and here he goes. He's going to get the flank on the back line. Huge slow coming out from him there, and it might dictate the pace of this team here, or this team fight, Shane.
Yep, we see the Wraithwalk now on cooldown. Yoda is channeling it. He get the hook on a Mad Timmy. Mad Timmy doing good job at protecting his buddy with the hook, but he's taking some trouble. They're taking some damage. He's in trouble, and Falstad goes down. The big gathering power stock showing how much damage they do. I don't think that they were expecting that. Now, with no Falstad on the map, they have to forfeit this tribute. They have to deal with the push in their base. Catapults on the core. Catapults soon to be on the core in the bottom lane as well. And this is what happens in the late game when you're down structures and you're up against an Abathur. If you're on the map for too long, all the lanes get pushed in, and all of a sudden there's catapults helping away in your core.
This is a really, I a tense moment for Blank here as a team, and I think
Yeah.
it's showing in their shot calling decision making right now. Not only the concession out of this tribute, but also the boss situation that they're in here, the Blink coming out there, and everybody, it seems like they're kind of in a panic. They don't, I guess, necessarily understand what they want to be doing with their comp, and I feel like overall, when it just comes down to the straight body language here, Gorda is going to be looking to force that fight, Disho is going to come out, but it just feels like, there you go, Matre throwing out another silencing arrow that I believe it actually missed everybody there. It just seems so scattered. Even though they're down a man, it feels like they just don't know what they want to be doing. They're just not dictating the pace of the game. They're constantly on the back foot. Hook coming out here, though. Aragi might be able to make the plays here. Beautiful.
There's a Lunar Flare as well. A beautiful cleanse from Mad Timmy on his getting on the aggressive. He's going forward. I'm sorry, not the aggressive, but the defensive, rather. He's going to get himself out of a poor position. And that was close. The Sonya would have been a very pivotal pickoff. Falstad is back on the map. The Flame Strike getting a lot of value there. The double Flame Strike hitting the Tyrande twice. A Tribute has spawned once again. ETC's going up to it. And are we going to see a response here from DasGo? Because this is going to net a curse. It looks like instead they're going to deal with the curse and they're going to go with the boss instead. And I mean, 23-minute boss, man. That has a free avenue to the core. They could almost, I mean, just one pick offer if they really wanted to. They could pressure the core and potentially win the game here.
No,
right?
absolutely. This boss is what decides this game. How well it's played, if there's a lot of picks or anything else. If this boss goes in favor of DasGo, they have the opportunity to end the game right now. There you go. Really good zoning too. The hook just barely missing there. The curse is going to get a free keep on top here for Blank. They're going to be zoning off this boss while they have the man up. They want to just delay as long as possible, the least amount of defense that they can possibly get during this curse. Keep in mind the front wall being up on mid and on bottom here. So they're only going to get one keep out of this naturally for the time being, but the minion waves are going to stack up, which could allow them, with 1 to 2 kills, go through mid and actually end the game. All it's going to take is a couple picks here. This is going to be the game-deciding fight here, Shane.
This is a very tense moment for both of these teams. They have fought and fought hard. It's been, as far as looking at the experience, looking at the takedowns, it's been a very even match. Man, Stitch is in a little bit of trouble, forcing out the Putrid Bile. That is going to secure his means of egress to the safety within the confines of his team. A hook onto the Sonya. Is there Hardened Shield? There is. Divine Shield is available. They got to be careful. There's a Divine Shield. Falstad and the Stitch is taking a lot of damage. Sonya is going in there really ham. Now on here with the Wraithwalk trying to get in there. They're all clumped up. Oh no, Falstad's in trouble. The Stitch is in trouble. Hardened Shield's there, but the Mosh Pit! The Mosh Pit is there on top of Sonya. The Mosh Pit is there on top of Leor. Can they turn it around? They can't. Sonya is chasing down the ETC. This is a scrappy team fight. How's it going to end? They're all over the place. They're scattering across the map. They just want to keep themselves alive. I think Sheth with Ultimate Evolution could secure the kill. No, the power slide away. The chase continues. Cue the Benny Hill music, Wade. This fight is never going to end, and these guys are all over the place.
Absolutely, and if ETC dies here, that could lead to a big play on the boss here. Both bosses are up. Keep that in mind, and that is going to be influential. What I would like to see, okay, the most important thing here is the risk over which boss the teams go for now. The patience of the shot calling is going to show here. Their boss is the safer play, but the closest one, proximity-wise, is going to be your opponent's boss, which is the highest risk because Falstad has the opportunity to gust over the wall. They're going to risk it here. They look for core. Yoda actually getting hooked here. Krahi getting poked out quite a bit here. I don't know if they're going to be able to force this fight. This is only 5 versus 4. I guess they're going to ignore them and all in the core. The gust. I don't know.
That Wraithwalk, this is going to be close. They have to respect the Falstad. They have to respect the Mighty Gust. Yoda's taking a lot of damage, and Mad Timmy has to decide who to heal up. It's going to be the Sonya with the hook. There's no ball to the storm, and he does go down. The Arcane Barrier is not there. A disastrous for
they have to move up.
Taking the win out of the sails of DasGo. They are moving up. That's exactly what they're doing. They're reading your mind here, Dreadnought. They're going on the Sonya. Sonya's going to Ancient Spear out. Mad Timmy, even if he does go down, does have Resurrection available if he so desired. The hook on the Sonya. But again, the hooks are on point. The Lunar Flare is there. Is there a heal? Is there a cleanse? Is there anything? The Ancient Spear is there again. This Sonya is so slippery. Sheth popping the Ultimate Illusion. Falstad's low. If Falstad goes down, that could be the game. Stitches is low as well. No Mighty Gust. The Birdman is down. The Birdman is down. Matre's gonna Haunting Wave away. Lunar Flare onto 2 is zoning out for him. Sonya's in trouble. This team fight is back and forth and back and forth. Mosh Pit is not available for 15 seconds. Leoric in trouble. He's gonna Wraithwalk away. Can they get him? Any Lunar Flare? There's a Sentinel. He's so very low. They want the kill. They can smell the blood in the water. Dread. He's going in at the boss. There is the Lunar Flare. Immediately cleansed by Mad Timmy. What a god. He is a god indeed. The chase continues. Hook not going to land on a Mad Timmy. This is so tense. The Shadow Stalk is there. Wraithwalk is back online as well. These guys are pushing so hard. Tribute spawning up in the north. And finally, I think Leoric might get taken out here, but they're so far out of their base. Mid lane is pushing, but look at top lane.
They're killing two reviving heroes right now. They're killing 2 heroes that are going to revive from the game, and whoever gets the next boss is going to win this game. The decision-making out of Blank here, like I said, the panic. If they had just taken those 2 kills, then I feel like if they had concentrated a boss, at some point they would have gotten away with this far better. I think ETC still has his Blank up. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's going to bolt out here. Nope, it's going to be That's going to be the kill. That might be
Oh,
enough to
man.
dictate the pace of the game. Keep in mind,
Oh,
this is
no.
only a 56% core. That 5 versus 4 actually is a realistic thing at this point in the game. Now,
It
Sonya's
is.
just about to spawn. She might rush to the core. And look at this. Instantly, you see DasGo is finally understanding the situation. Bosses are all that matter. I really, like I said, from Blank, I feel like if they had taken those 3 kills, stop chasing 2 targets who are going to revive anyways. Uther would res using his actually, Uther ended up not taking the revive. Never mind. He ended up going with increased D shield, so I am very incorrect on that. But killing the Leoric, that's why the hook actually went for the Leoric, or the Uther instead of the Leoric. But I very much feel like if they had not gone for those kills and worried about bosses are win games on Cursed Hollow, not 1 to 2 kills, especially with that staggered of deaths here. But the boss, this is what it's going to come down to. Once again, Shane, this is it.
They have to
that
be
Leoric
very
damage.
careful.
The
Leoric's
hook!
taking a lot of damage. Hook is not there. There would have been a ball to the storm anyways. But still, getting that ball to the storm on cooldown. This is such a tense moment for both of these teams. Top lane pushing out for Blank, about to put pressure on the core. Bottom lane for DasGo, putting core on Blank. This is just a tense moment across the battleground. Neither of these teams want to fight over this boss. Just so much posturing, so much zone control between the two of them, man. So much respect between these two teams. This tribute right here, it will net a curse for DasGo. Won't be incredibly impactful, but man, will it push those lanes. And actually will be very impactful because they have an Abathur. With all those lanes being pushed in, that core is going to be under assault, and that will
If they get
mean
cursed this game,
DasGo
it's not
will
even
have
close.
room.
It will 100% be game. The minions
Yeah.
will just push in and win the game. So this team fight is like really what's going to dictate it. Unless they full wipe here, good Toronto stun. Krahi again getting poked down very heavily there.
Mosh Pit is online in about a second. We need to see a great Mosh Pit. Divine Shield's on cooldown. Hardened Shield
The
is dealing
bolt!
with the damage of
The
it.
Mosh!
The Mosh Pit is on too. That is what they needed, but Tyrande goes down. Is there follow-up by Mad Timmy goes down too? There is no resurrection on Mad Timmy. He did not go with the redemption. He went with the Bulwarker Light. It might have cost him the game. But with Falstad and Tyrande being down, this is 3v4 right now. This is still a very, very close team fight, but On is going to be taking out Sylvanas. He's going to Haunting away and stay alive for now. On's going to mount up. The chase continues. Meanwhile, though, Korjaz has picked up the tribute, has picked
Abathur
up
gonna get the Slapather?
Sheth is just hanging out in the base. The core is under assault. The core is under siege. The core is dealing with a curse. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, finally, 29 minutes in, what a game number 1 between DasGo and Blank. They are going to be victorious, and holy cow, Dreadnought, that was a phenomenal, phenomenal match.
What even happened there? They got to the point where it was like, okay, this is a game that we expected. You know, this comp. They got the curse. This is looking a little bit good for the Abathur. And then all of a sudden it hit just this moment where everybody's like, guys, we might lose the game. And then everybody else was like, guys, we might lose the game, and just panic. Everybody was just killing everything, chasing everywhere. It was absolutely insane. A lot of that game, every game on Cursed Hollow really does, especially when it gets to the late game, was dictated by that boss control, who had the opportunity to take them and everything else. I very much think that game really came down to, okay, number 1, the all-ending the core as a 5 versus 4 was such a risky call coming from Blank.
Very greedy.
And then if you notice the fact that DasGo did it, or no, from DasGo, I apologize, and then Blank ended up getting that beautiful rebuttal against them with the Gust as the disengage, being able to get on them, and they ended up with I think they walked away with 3 kills in that situations with a 50-second death timer, and they actually gained nothing out of that because there was so much time spent on looking to get a kill with a double tank composition in Tyrande and only a Falstad, which I believe he was one of the ones dead. Sylvanas lacking a little bit of that damage. I don't mean to say anything about the Jaina chase potential that could have happened in that later half of the map, but I'm kind of bringing it up.
See a Jaina, man.
But either way, beyond the fact that I don't think Sylva was a bad pick, I think she showed her worth definitely in that game.
Absolutely,
I just very much feel like the decision making after that wipe on the core, like I said, Blank, when I tried to point out, like, I felt like if you will, their body language just showed that they didn't know what they wanted to do. They were for a large portion of the later half, they just didn't have any, and it showed even more when they did actually gain a lead. They did just walked away with almost nothing out of the situation, but that was from both sides really a phenomenal game and beautiful strategies executed from both sides. But I mean, gotta hand it out to DasGo and Blank, man. They went head to head for sure that game. That was a brawl.
That was great, man.
Yeah.
That was one of the most fun games I've casted in a very long time. Official game time, 29 minutes and 18 seconds. 13 takedowns to 9, an extraordinarily even match. And I hope that the second game will be as exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Game number 2 of the best of 3 series. This is the finals between DasGo and Blank, with DasGo being up 1-0, winning that match. We're going to take a very small break, and we'll be back with the draft, game number 2, in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.